What is going on? What is going on, people? Jada Black here, back with another video. I want to talk about what's been going on in the ESPN over the last day or so. They've been firing a lot of people, and most of them have been on-air talent. They haven't been behind the scenes talent, behind the scenes employees. These are, guys who are name guys who people know. So, according to the New York Times, I saw the Deadspin article as well, but I'm going to do this one. So basically, a struggling ESPN lays off many on-air figures. Now, we can contribute this to a number of things: low subscriber numbers, the amount of just bad TV contracts they signed. I mean, they're paying. Listen, let me just get to the article. It says that the worldwide leader in sports, as ESPN brands itself, laid off scores of journalists and on-air talent on Wednesday, showing that even the most formidable media kingpin was vulnerable to transformation, upending the sports broadcast industry as more and more people turn away from cable television. I myself am one of them. Among the prominent people let go, the former NFL players Trent Dilfer and Danny Cannell, former NBA player Lynn Elmore, the former baseball general manager Jim Bowden, and the longtime NFL reporter Ed Warder. ESPN is by far the biggest and most powerful entity in the sports media industry, and it has felt the sting as many viewers turn away from traditional ways of consuming live sports. And it also has a lot to do with the mixed messages that ESPN's programming is putting on too. The network has lost more than 10 million subscribers over the past several years. At the same time, the cost of broadcasting major sports has continued to rise. ESPN committed to an 8-year, $15.2 billion extension with the NFL in 2011. A 9-year, $12 billion deal with the NBA, and a $7.3 billion deal for the college football playoffs, among many things. That's a lot of billions. That's a lot. I don't care how much money Disney has. That's a lot of money to commit to. And they're going to have to pay every dime of that. Okay. Sheesh. ESPN was wrapped in Teflon for many years. But big payouts for rights fees, plus significant losses in their subscriber base, were like punches to the gut and head. And now the company is trying to make sure they are strong enough to fight in the future, says James Andrew Miller, who wrote a book on ESPN and has contributed to the New York Times. They decided one way to do this is to change their approach to content and rely more heavily on digital. This has enabled them to let go of a big chunk of their talent base. In October 2015, ESPN laid off about 300 people, most of whom were not on camera. The network has been periodically cutting its staff as it searches for ways to cut costs and adapt to changing consumer habits, with fans increasingly watching video clips on their smartphones at the expense of traditional highlight shows like ESPN not ESPN now, with Sports Center, with ESPN locked into a long-term contracts for programming rights with various sports leagues. Savings must primarily come from a reduced staff, and they have a very reduced staff. You see, ESPN has done this to themselves. They were outbidding themselves. The fact that you signed the NFL to an 8-year, $15.2 billion deal, who else was you bidding against for NFL programming? NBA, $12 billion. College football playoffs, $7.3 billion. Who were you bidding against? ESPN? See, this is ESPN being greedy, being arrogant, believing that the subscriber base was going to be there. But No, the subscriber base is gone, and it's mostly due to the fact that you, as a company, Disney, you turned away a lot of the spending, your spending customers, because of the programming that you've been putting on, the stories that you decide to cover, the race baiting, the type of people you bring onto your platform. They don't want to see that. ESPN, they don't want to see some of the people you bring on your platform and how you're getting more and more political. Nobody wants to see that, ESPN. This is why people are taking their money and going home. They're taking their money and going home because they cannot rely on watching your program and just getting away from all the political BS without seeing you promoting it more than anybody. And this is exactly why you're losing your subscriber base. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. Nobody, I mean, listen, if I'm somebody who is paying for cable and I just want to get away from all the politics and the race baiting, then you turn on ESPN. It's on this, it's on ESPN 1, it's on ESPN 2, First Take, that stupid ass SC6. You're just seeing constantly barrage of, let's talk about racism. Let's talk about how much we don't like the president, or just we bringing on people, like bringing rappers onto the platform, and you're bringing comedians. It's like you have turned ESPN into a very reliable sports entity into basically another political propaganda channel, and people aren't going to pay money for that. If people have to not pay for cable anymore, not to have to see you anymore, that's what they're going to do. Now, I'm a big fan of ESPNU. I think ESPNU is had good during football season. ESPN is one of the best things to watch. Okay. ESPN and ESPN2, on the other hand, are not very watchable. You got the two corniest black people ever in Michael Smith and what's the other chick name? Jamel Hill. You got the female name. You got these people on your main like primetime slots, and it's like nobody wants to see them. Nobody wants to see them, and you're letting go of talented people. You're letting go of talented people. Look at some of the people let go of. People who are fan favorites. Jay Crawford. I mean, I'm not really a fan of Ed Warder, but he's been there for a while. Jason Stark, baseball guy. Trent Dilfer. He's a guy that people like to watch on TV. Well, some people. Danny Cannell. People weren't a big fan of him, but he was on the network for a while. They let go of the entire hockey staff. That's how much they gave a shit about hockey. Even though hockey does have a strong base, not a big base, but they have a strong base. There are people who love hockey. Canadians love hockey. And you let go of the whole hockey department so you continue to host the college football playoff games. Even though you already are showing college football programming on your platform, primetime games, but you want the college football playoff. You're willing to spend $7.3 billion to give to the NCAA, even though these college athletes play for free and they shouldn't get paid, right? But who's making that money? But anyway, it was getting so bad at ESPN that they literally would criticize NBA players for sitting out games that they were showing on their network. That wasn't big story worth. I know I made a video on it, but I believe that ESPN purposely told First Take and some of these other shows to go in on these NBA players who are sitting out games because these players are sitting out games, they were losing money. Okay. NBA players sitting out games don't affect anybody else. but the people who are programming the show. And I was thinking, I was like, well, why is ESPN making this into a big story? Now I understand. You gave the NBA $12 billion, and you want when LeBron is on TV on ESPN, you want LeBron to play because you're wanting a return on your investment. But you signed that bad deal. ESPN, you signed that bad deal. In a letter to employees on Wednesday, ESPN's president John Skipper acknowledged the difficult decisions ahead and suggested what the network was looking for as it reshapes itself. Dynamic change demands an increased focus on versatility and value, and as a result, we have been engaged in challenging process of determining the talent, anchors, analysts, reporters, writers, and those who handle play-by-play necessary to meet those demands, John Skipper said. Now, John Skipper is a guy who's been running ESPN for a long time. He's the guy you should thank for why ESPN is going to shit. He's the guy to thank, okay? You putting people as the faces of your franchise who basically shouldn't be there as the faces of your franchise. So, let's see. Let me skip through some of this. Earlier this month, Amazon paid $50 million for streaming rights to 10 of the NFL's Thursday night games for the 2017 season, or 5 times more than what Twitter paid a season ago, according to Sports Business Journal, which also reported that Facebook and YouTube bid on the package. ESPN Layoffs comes as Disney accelerates efforts to introduce a ESPN-branded subscription streaming service. First of all, nobody's going to pay for that shit. I mean, there's going to be people who are going to pay for it, but come on, man. They won't even pay for it on cable. You think they're going to pay for it online? The offering expected this year and made possible by Disney's $1 billion purchase in 2016 as part of BAMTech. Major League Baseball streaming division will include coverage of sports like hockey, tennis, cricket, and college sports, mostly rights that are owned by ESPN but not televised. ESPN, man, I mean, you have all these other networks that are going to hire some of these talented people that you couldn't afford to keep because you signed some bad deals, and now you're stuck with your decision making. You're being social justice warriors, inviting anybody on your platform to be interviewed. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And let me know your thoughts on this particular story.